Go ahead.
Well, obviously, like all of us, it's just so fun to be back out. I know the players, they've been putting in so much hard work in the winter and doing things behind closed doors that people don't even realize what they go through as student athletes. That it's a lot of grind. It's so year round that it's fun to see them out. That's what they're working towards, is playing ball again. And as coaches, same with us. We enjoy the year round aspect of things, but the most fun, what you get juiced up for, is to get back out on the field, with the guys. So it's been a blast.
Something I noticed yesterday on the field was that Ross was making these little screwdriver adjustments, like, hey, move in like 2 yards, be a little flatter, or get a little deeper on that, or we didn't catch that one, but that route was perfect. What have you seen from him in terms of a kind of a jump in commanding the offense?
Yeah, I think there's no question Ross shows that. I mean, you could tell right away and all the way through last year, not just Ross, but the entire QB room, just how intelligent they were, and just how quick they could grasp things. So it wasn't going to take long. So all of a sudden you go a full year with, with what, Coach Tui gives them, the wealth of information, and just in terms of just how well they're being coached, how well they study, and already the intelligence they came into this place. And on top of that, with a guy like Ross, he's the one who got all the experience last year. So for him, you can see definitely those jumps in terms of the little things you're talking about, which it's always fun to see. If you don't see those things, then you got to kind of question, some of the either things you're doing, how you're teaching it, or if that particular player is putting in the extra time he needs to. And it's been fun to see that show up in these first 2 days.
Now, Brandon didn't have the experience last year, but he has a lot of experience from before. What's different for him now this spring?
Oh, there's a comfort level still, even though he didn't have game experience, and even though most of his time, it was primarily scout team, he was still able to be in on meetings. He was still able to look at, he was still able to grasp, concepts, terminology, things of that nature. And he's put in, the extra time as well. So there's definitely been a huge jump for him from where he was, really. I go all the way back to August to where he is now. During the season, he was running a lot of scout stuff, so you didn't necessarily see him get to command our offense except for a little bit every Monday. So it's been fun to see that jump too, and he's in a great competitive spot.
Melquise and Demetrius, their speed looked okay, but what have you seen out of them coming back?
Yeah, both of them show tremendous speed. They're both a little different with their speed. A lot of Demetrius is long speed. He can get going, and obviously you see that with what he does, from a track standpoint, but he carries that out into the football field. So he has a lot of that long speed, and he's still working on some of the short area quickness. D-Rob, sometimes guys who have that much long speed, it takes a little more time, but man, he can be scary in terms of what he can do running by you and what he can do with the ball in his hands if he gets a crease. And we saw little glimpses of that even last year, with the reverse for a touchdown and a slant he took about 40. And then Melquise has that good speed as well, but he has a lot of just explosion and strength and quickness in and out of breaks. So he can get to the top of a route and come out of that thing, snap it off, do some things that way. And, we haven't got to see him in a ton of live situations, but you anticipate then some great run after the catch opportunities.
How tough is it to kind of get him back in that route running mode? Because there were a few times where it seemed like his feet got out ahead of him, or he got out ahead of his feet, and Coach Edwards said, hey, you gotta reel it back in a little bit.
It just takes time. I mean, it really does. It takes time, and you got to get used to it. I talk about that short area quickness, and that ability to get, sink your hips and get small and get, in and out of those breaks. And it does. It takes reps and times. It's a skill that you can't just roll the balls out and tell them to go run a slant or tell them to go run a 14-yard curl or 15-yard comeback. You got to work it. You got to work the technique. And there's a progression. So as long as guys like these guys are willing to work, then we're going to get to that point.
How excited are you to have more tools back on the field again, with Ray out there and D-Rob out there and Stova out there again? Just a lot more options.
Yeah, I mean, it's always exciting, but at the same time, I just, and truthfully, I just get excited about whoever's out there that we're coaching on that day, and because you never know. I can't tell you what's going to happen over the next month, 2 months, 3 months. So I just like to see, just from the standpoint, though, of seeing for those guys, not just a me thing having more options or an us thing having more options, but for those guys, getting to see them coming off an injury and getting to see them, just that smile on their face, getting to compete, getting out there. And when that creates more competition and depth, that's awesome, in terms of that. So no question. I mean, you're always a better coach when you have more options you can go to. There's no doubt about that. So, these guys coming back definitely give us a leg up. But at the end of the day, we're all long way away. You know, that's how I look at it. It's a process, and you never know where we're going to be in a month, 2 months. You got to keep working towards that.
Laird was saying Monday there was a time where he was on the sidelines talking to some of the receivers, and he said, man, how much easier is this than it was last spring? Do you see some of that carryover of how much you guys were trying to install last year and how much it's carried over to this spring?
Yeah, no question. I mean, year 1 to year 2, and you're talking about a group too. You know, in some years you may not have see this big a jump, but you're talking about a group. I mean, they're a Cal for a reason. You know, they've got it up here. So in 1 year's time, and plus they want to work at it. They're sponges. They want to learn it. You're going to see a huge growth from where they were a year ago. You know, maybe more so than at other places. So, and if we didn't see that growth, then none of us are doing a very good job. I mean, the reality of it is. So that's you know, our job to show a lot of that growth. But at the same time, it's got to translate to the field. You know, and we're far from where we need to be. Yes, there's a huge jump in terms of where we were a year ago, which should be, but long way still from where we want to be.
One thing I asked Pat about was there being only 4 running backs in camp, and before I could even get through it, he said, "I want all the reps I can get." Do you have to hold him back at all, or do you like seeing that, hearing that from him?
Oh, I love seeing that here and there. I'd rather have that. I mean, you know, in terms of that, you know, you want to control his reps, not him control his reps. You know, when you're controlling his reps, you know. I mean, he would. He'd keep himself out there for every play if it was up to him. He'd go at it no matter what. That's just how he's wired. So we have that plan. Coach Wilcox, you know, has that plan, and you do that. But it's not just Pat. You have that all over the field. You know, and that's part of the process. You want him to go through some tough grinding moments, but you also want to, you know, get the right amount of reps, especially for certain veteran guys. You know, not that, you know, they're entitled to anything, but there's a certain level, a certain amount of snaps you take over your career, and you're just intelligent about, you know, how they go through these 4-day practices before game 1.
Do you have to throttle Melkis and Demetrius that way too, since they're coming back from injury?
You want to be smart with where they are with injury-wise, but once they get to that 100%, they gotta learn how that feels to go through it again. You know, so if they're at 100% on the injury report and they're going through it, then, you know, they're guys who obviously didn't take a lot of reps last year, so they need those reps. Everyone needs them, but you really start needing them when you haven't had a lot of reps within this offense.
How good is it to have Ray Hudson back, just for the tight end group, to have someone that's experienced and has played?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, like I said, it's great just to have Ray back, just to see him healthy again for Ray himself. You know, I mean, obviously that's great for us as an entire offense to have, you know, different guys come back, and someone like Ray with some game time experience and a skill set that brings some things that we can do within this offense. You saw it last spring. But I get the most excited, really, just seeing him out again. You know, for him. You know, that's what's most exciting. I mean, we're going to coach for a lot of years, you know, and you know, you hope you, knock on wood, you're able to, you know, keep earning the right to keep coaching. But at the end, we're going to coach for a lot of years. For these student athletes, they get, you know, a 4-year window. You know, I know Ray's pushing 6 now, but they, for the most part, they get a 4-year window. So, you know, it always kind of, you know, it hurts you when you see a guy who all of a sudden loses part of that 4-year window, and you're just excited to see him come back.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.